2017 Aussie Millions main event. We are down to the final 3 contestants, and all 3 players are now guaranteed $620,000. And we are playing for another million more, 1.6 million up for grabs for first. Shrain Vijayaram with 14 million. Ben Heath in second place, but by quite some margin. He's got 6 million chips, and then our short stack, the German player Tobias Hausen, he doesn't even have 10 big blinds. We're going to see how this happens. This is a very interesting chip distribution. We have a mega stack, a middle stack, and then a mini stack. We'll see who can make this final 2. Let's go down to the tournament floor. Players taking their seats. Let's hear from Joel.
Already doing fantastic.
I'm big fan.
With just 3 remaining after the exit of Jeff Rossiter on our main event final table, we enter level 31. Our new blinds are 80,000, 160,000. Our ante is 20,000. Just 3 remain. All have locked up at least $620,000 in cash, but it's the $1.6 million first prize they're still chasing. Our dealer is India. Shuffle up and deal.
All right.
Good luck.
Cards are in the air. And Tobias is happy. He just made $180,000 by surviving.
Action on 2.
Action is going to be on Ben Heath. He's got a very good hand for 3-handed play. And Ben Heath is now our most accomplished player remaining. Very talented player from the UK. But boy, look at all those chips. For Vijayaram, he's got 10 million in the turquoise chips alone. And now it's on Hausen. Blinds are 80 and 160,000, and Ben Heath going to win the first hand of 3-handed play. And Ben's got a decent little stack over there. Those blue chips, 25K, turquoise chips, 100,000, yellow chips, 5,000.
Thank you.
I'm good, cheers.
I'm fine, next. We started this tournament 5 days ago with 725 players down to the final 3.
Thank you.
First place, 1.6 million. Second place, 1 million. Third place, 620,000. Action's going to be here on our chip leader. Representing Team Run It Up, even though he might not know what it is. He's living the Run It Up dream. And Vijayaram here with the Jack 10 offsuit. That's probably going to be good enough for him to go with here. And he might run into Tobias's Ace Jack. Looks like Jack 10 certainly good enough to raise. And he is going to go for it here. 355,000.
3 raises. To 380,000.
Vijayaram does raise it. Hausen ships in his remaining stack. And Vijayaram's going to have to call here, just given how short-stacked Hausen is. Just really can't fold for 500,000 more, getting 5-1. And if Vijayaram should happen to get lucky and win here, we'll be down to heads-up play.
60,000. 70, 80. 80,000.
Dealer verifying the stack.
885,000.
Total.
No, I've taken this one out on top.
885.
So it's 885 more. So the graphics are slightly wrong. So it was like 1.1 million or so total. Got to call 800,000 more. I think we have to call here with Jack 10 offsuit. Now we can see that this is not exactly a fantastic position, but Vijayaram's not always in this bad of shape. Vijayaram going to think about it here, but probably has to call. And if Hausen can win this pot, he'll at least have some breathing room. And that is going to be a call. And our German player is going to have his ace-jack hold. And he's happy with the shape he's in. This is all he could really ask for here. And Vijayaram wishing his opponent good luck. Tobias Housen's ace-jack's going to have to hold here. That's a great start to that. Vijayaram here has a backdoor. Nope, the diamond's no good. He has to find a queen and a queen only. And we know that Ben Heath folded the queen of hearts. Vijayaram's got to find some tens, 2 tens or a queen. Oh, it's a queen on the turn. Oh, wow. That is a honey from heaven there. Now, Housen's not out. He can still chop with a 10 on the river. There are 3 tens left in the deck. That is not going to do it, though, and we've lost Tobias Housen in 3rd place. Lucky turn card for Vijayaram. And just like that, we are now heads up. Both these players guaranteed $1 million for their run here in this tourney. Tobias Housen, though, out in 3rd place. $620,000 for him. But wow, gotta say, Vijayaram qualified on a $100 satellite, and now he's guaranteed $1 million. $100 into $1 million. That is insane. Let's go hear from Tobias about his deep run here in the Aussie Millions.
It was a hard game. There was a lot of hands that sort of came up against your favour, especially the one I think a few hands ago where you lost most of your stack. What was your thought process as it sort of played out?
I raised, I think 2 or 3 times in a row into his big blind, and I saw in his face that he was not happy me stealing his blind, especially after we had like a chat at the table. So I don't think I did any mistake calling there, but yeah, it just happens. So
What's next for you after this?
I don't know. I kept making plans long time ago because plans fail. So I don't know. I have a friend in Australia and he invited me to learn surfing. So I guess I go to him and chill with him a couple of days and then see what happens.
That was Tobias Housen, our 3rd place finisher. And there's a shot of Shireen Vijayaram's stack. So we're going to be resetting the stacks for heads up play. Going to get the money out of the vault. I believe we did that last year. The money was on the table. These players playing for $1.6 million, $600,000 pay jump between 1st and 2nd. So we're going to reset the players. Maybe they're going to do a little presentation, getting ready for all that stuff. So when we get back, we have 1 more elimination left before a winner is determined. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just about 15 minutes with more action live from Australia here on Twitch.
Round to Brian Rust. You guys haven't had the blind on blind. He's in the small blind now. These situations always tricky to read, Joe. Small blind, big blind.
Absolutely, because the big blind automatically has position, right? The small blind doesn't want to give up his half big blind. He wants to try and defend it and win the pot. So Brian's raising, coming in. And he knows that Dwaglen hates folding, so he's expecting action.
Rast raises to 260,000. Over to the Frenchman now. What will he do next?
Well, he's got me sitting on the edge of the couch, mate. Let me tell you.
Well, the sunnies are down, so that must be a read. Will he call? Will he raise?
I call.
He calls. So we're going to see a flop. Queen Jack off suit. Not a bad hand in the big blind, and he's concealed it by calling, right?
I think it's a great calling hand, Jack Queen there. Just, you've got position, use it to your advantage. And you've got a very good hand. I like the fact that he calls his actions. For those players who aren't experienced, if you call your action, you can't get into trouble. Some people, they don't do it and they mistakenly raise or mistakenly underbet.
Well, Dwaglen has struck top pair here on a Queen 3 deuce board with 2 clubs. Rast out of position. It looks like he's going to fire first because he was the initial raiser pre-flop. Continues the aggression. How much? 310, exactly half the pot. And the Frenchman wastes no time, just says, I'm all in. And Rast folds. So, well, these two, that's a bit of a round 2 for these two. So Rast and Dwaglen really tussling. Be very interesting to see how this subplot
Cash ever.
Action on 2.
Action's going to be on the JRM here. First to act on the button. Like I said, if I was in Vijayram's corner, I would tell him, don't limp your button, raise. We want to play bigger pots against Ben. Let's not get too fancy.
Calls. Action on 1.
Vijayram ignores my advice and goes ahead and calls.
1 checks.
And it's a limp and a check here. Now, if I was in Heath's corner, I would say, listen, you probably have more experience here. Try to play as small pots as possible. The more hands you play here, the more likely Ben is to win. This was a $10,000 buy-in event. We are down to the final 2 players.
2 bets.
Both players improving here on this flop.
160,000.
Heath with jacks and 8s. The J-Ram with an up and down straight draw.
1 calls.
Check and call for Heath
Action on 1.
for a pretty
1
big
checks.
bet.
Action on 2.
Heath checks again. Will the J-Ram continue his aggression here? Looks like he will. I love the pace these players are playing here already. Oh, he fakes this all out, decides to check. Pulls out a bet and just knuckles.
Action on 1.
And Heath has the best hand. No improvement for Vijayram's 10 high. Will Heath consider value betting jacks and 8s here on the river? Gotta think that if Vijayram had a better hand than jacks and 8s, we would have heard about it on the turn.
1 bets.
More likely than not.
485,000.
Heath bets the river, and Vijayram only has 2 choices, raise or fold. Can't exactly call with 10 high. Looks like he's thinking about it here, but not really too many options.
Two folds.
And he's going to let it go. And Heath wins the second pot of heads-up play. 2 hands in a row for Heath. We started this final table with 7 players left. Shireen Vijayaram was our chip leader to start today. Ben Heath was in the middle of the pack. Shireen still has about a 2.5 to 1 chip advantage. If you're enjoying the show, let me know on Twitter at Jason Somerville. Use that hashtag Aussie Millions. Get in touch with us. Let us know if you've enjoyed the shows here from Australia. Thanks again to Crown Poker for hosting another amazing Aussie Millions. And you are watching RunItUp.tv. Tell your friends, come hang out.
1 call.
600,000 more up for grabs here between these 2 players. And another limped pot on the button. We've now seen 3 hands and 3 button limps. Like I said earlier, I gotta say, I like that more for Heath than I do for Vijayaram. But maybe Vijayaram has more experience heads up than I think he does. No pair for either player here.
2 checks. Action on 1.
Action over to Heath with Jack high. How is he going to play it here? And even though Heath is about a 2 to 1 chip underdog, or is about a 2 to 1 chip underdog,
Bets.
I think
160,000.
Heath is probably like 40% to win this match. Not a lot has to go right for Heath to be even in chips. And then at that point, you know, these players are deep stacked enough. There's still room to play here. And I think if Heath can get some momentum going, he could definitely take this down. It's up to Vijayaram to
2 folds.
put some pressure on, to keep his opponent guessing, and not let Ben get too much momentum here. But Ben has won all 3 of the, right, 3 of 3 hands heads up so far. Yes, he's made the best hand 2 of those times. I guess that time as well, Jack High was the best hand. But Ben's got to be happy about this. Playing a $600,000 heads-up match against somebody who has never cashed a tournament before. But Vijayaram's been very smart and very tricky at this final table. This certainly won't be a walk in the park for Ben. He's got a big mountain of chips to overcome across the table. I would love to see Vijayaram start here with a raise.
2 raises.
And he is this time, and I like this play.
25,000.
I think at the stack depths, you know, we have 40, 50 blinds effective. I think we want to start with a raise here more often than not.
1 fold.
And just like that, Vijayaram going to take my advice and win the pot. First hand heads up for Vijayaram. Oh, that cash just looks so sweet, in the words of Phil Ivey. Bundles and bundles of Aussie money. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah. Woo. Craigasm. Stacks and stacks and stacks of money. I believe that's the first place prize money right there. Wheelbarrow not included. 2 very good hands here, heads up. Ace-10 versus Ace-Queen. How are these 2 going to play it?
1 calls. Action on 2.
Ooh, Heath just calls with Ace-10. This may get him into some trouble here. Vijayaram certainly going to raise.
2 checks. Just another 5,000 now.
What?
All good.
What did I say? Certainly going to check, right? Kappa. I don't understand this play. I mean, I understand Heath limping the button, but don't we want to play a bigger pot with Ace-Queen suited? I think we're letting our opponent off the hook here. It could have went limp raise, re-raise with Ace-10 offsuit, re-raise with Ace-Queen suited. Like, this could have been a huge pot.
2 bets,
Instead, we're playing a 2 big blind pot.
One calls.
Heath calls on the flop, and Vijayaram turns the nut flush. 4 big blinds in this pot somehow. Ace-Queen versus Ace-10.
1 checks.
Vijayaram checks. Heath quickly checks behind.
Action on 2.
Jack on the river. It's going to be tough to extract much value here. Our time to build this pot was pre-flop.
Check. See 1 checks.
And Vijayaram checks. Heath checks. And you can see Heath is like, you have what? You got what over there? And Vijayaram's going to win that pot, but even though Vijayaram won that pot, Heath's got to be so happy when he sees Ace-Queen suited. Who do you guys think is going to win this heads-up match? You got hashtag Vijayaram or hashtag Heath? Who do you guys think is going to win this heads-up match?
Good hand.
Action on 2.
Yeah. Ben has got to be feeling great. He's won the majority of the hands heads up. He just saved a decent amount of chips there. Who knows what might happen if it goes limp, raise, re-raise maybe, or he just calls. Even still, maybe he calls on the flop. You know, that pot could have easily been a few million. Instead, it's 600,000. Vijayaram going to raise here on the button with Queen 6 suited.
Action on 1. Check. Action
I do like that he's raised here on the button. But you can't help but point out the pot is bigger now than it was in the last hand. Ace-Queen versus Ace-10. Heath checks it. This hand will be over with a bet from Vijayaram. I would like to see him make that bet here. As the pre-flop aggressor, you should often be betting on the flops.
180,000.
And he is going to bet quick fold. Nice. Well played here by Vijayaram.
Whoops. Sorry.
And Shireen going to pick up 2 pots in a row here. Back up to 16 million.
Orange juice, please.
If you guys are enjoying this show, I don't know how you couldn't be.
Action on 1.
Let us know about it. Use that hashtag Aussie Millions. Back to normal, regular old run it up action tomorrow. If you want to hang out with me and watch 2 months of streams here on Twitch, I'll be playing poker every single day. Back on Monday. I invite you to press that follow button, join our community as we try to run it up, have a good time every single day. No pair for either of these players here.
2 checks. Action on
And
1 checks.
Vijayaram checks here, reaches for chips but then checks. First player to bet here is going to win this pot.
2 bets, 160,000.
Vijayaram does bet. Heath lets it go. And nice, Vijayaram starting to build some momentum here. If I was Vijayaram, I would say continue being aggressive. Unpredictability is great and all, but I think the key to this heads-up match is going to be aggression. We want to play bigger pots when we're in position on the button. Want to play a little bit tighter out of the big blind, looser on the button. Heads Up Master wants to know, how does the money get to the bank? Well, I'm sure they'll offer these players a wire, a check, chips, or cash. You can, I actually don't know for sure in Australia if you can take cash, but in every casino I've ever been to, for the most part, you can take your winnings in any of those forms. Vijayaram folds the 8 deuce, gets shown the king queen. Nice dodge there. And I don't know what is that next to him there? Some sort of like, looks like a bag of some variety, or Vijayaram been hammering those orange juices, looks like to me.
Action on 1.
Ben Heath going to be first to act here. Pretty reasonable hand for him. 2 4s. This time he looks like he's going to raise it.
Action on 2.
Oh, nope. He just calls. And you can see, I think Ben Heath's strategy is to try to deepen stacks artificially by just calling on the button. I think Ben feels like he'll win more than his fair share of pots post-flop, so he wants to keep the pots small so that he can survive losing a couple of them.
Action on 2.
He's likely to lose this pot here, having been out-flopped. He does have some backdoor draws here, as well as could find a 4.
2 bets, 160,000.
Now, Heath can't just fold,
1 calls.
given that he limped pre-flop with a pair.
Action on 2.
Vijayaram probably doesn't love that turn card, but he still does lead here by significant margin. What will Vijayaram do here on the turn? Looks like he's going to slow down and check.
Action on 2.
Oh, hi there. If you remember a long time ago now, Vijayaram turned a set of 4s. I believe it was on Ben. Now it's Ben's turn to get some revenge.
2 bets,
Rivering
160,000.
a set of 4s here. Ben's like, yep, pocket 4s confirmed. And now he's surely going to raise here on the river. We've seen both players make some tight checks, some tight calls on the river, but against the minimum bet on the river, we've got to raise this hand. Like, yeah, there are straights available, but you're going to have to put some more chips in than a min bet to get me to think you have a straight. And Ben Heath does raise it up. And now it's back on Vijayaram. What is he going to do here with his 6?
885,000.
And that's a pretty healthy raise, too. Almost 900,000 from Ben with a set of 4s. These players have been playing together for 11 hours tonight, plus who knows how much they played in the last few days to get to this final table. What is Vijayaram going to do here? This was a limped pot pre-flop. On the flop, I believe Vijayaram bet out. Heath called. Turn went check, check. Vijayaram made a small bet on the river and now is facing a raise. He really only beats a stone bluff. Wouldn't really make any sense for a worse 6 to raise here, right? So he really only beats like missed spades, a hand like Jack 8. Yeah, he's trying to figure this out. What kind of hands does Heath play this way for value? But I mean, Heath would raise all his 2 pairs here if he somehow has 2 pair. Maybe he slow plays the set once in a while this way, though it is maybe unexpected for Heath to limp a pair, although that is what he did. Can Vijayaram figure this out here? We've seen him think in earlier spots like this and then lay it down. He does beat all the bluffs if Heath is somehow bluffing with a hand like Queen 8, Queen 7, King 7. If he's somehow turning like 3-4 into a bluff, or 4-7, 5-7. But I think 5-7 would probably just call for a min bet. Especially as play has been going, Heath hasn't really invested in many chips without, period, actually. He hasn't really invested too many chips so far. The first time he puts in $1 million, I think you got to lean towards giving him credit here. But Vijayaram's got the call in his hand. We can't really see it because the board's in front of his hand, but I'm pretty sure he's just mouthing his words, but maybe his mic is muted. There's no time bank, no shot clock in this tournament. Let's see if Vijayaram can figure this one out here. I'll say this. If I was Vijayaram, I wouldn't call here on the river unless I could shrug it off if I lost. Because we got to call 700 to win 1.7 million.
2 folds.
Nice. He does lay it down. Good fold there by Shireen. And Ben Heath picks up one of the biggest hands so far of this heads-up match. Back over 6 million chips.
Button right?
Yes, the button is right. I just moved it.
Must be another tournament going on. There are multiple tournaments, of course, as part of the Aussie Millions. Not sure what the other action is right now.
Action on 2.
Obviously, this is the main event. Shireen Vijayaram got a very reasonable Queen 7 suited here. He's going to come in for a raise.
Raises to 325,000.
And now Heath with King Deuce offsuit. Not a particularly powerful hand, but you can't be folding hands like this heads up for a small raise. And Heath is going to come along for the ride.
Action on
No
1.
pair for either player here.
Action on 2.
First player to put pressure on, probably going to win this hand. Will Vijayaram continue with his aggression? And it looks like he will. He's going to go ahead and bet it here.
2 bets. 275,000.
Pretty hefty bet, 275,000. I guess actually not crazy, about half the pot. And Heath gets out of the way. And this match just about even from where we started here. Denis Svoboda.
Or you had a missed flush draw. Missed flush draw.
He's trying to get him to say he had a bluff there. Dennis Svoboda says, thanks for the amazing commentary. Hashtag Aussie Millions. Thanks for the kind words, dude. It says you make the Aussie Millions. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it very much. It's not just me, though. We have an amazing team, both the Crown Poker crew, great production staff as well. Those guys work really hard to get this as amazing as it is. In my opinion, the best live poker stream of the year. Another just call here on the button from Heath. We've seen him call, I believe, on every button so far.
2 checks.
Vijayaram outflops Heath here. Goes check, check on the flop. Both players pick up a diamond draw on the turn. Vijayaram
2 bets. 160,000.
decides this is the time he wants to bet. And wow, Heath quickly calls. Heath got to find a diamond and a king or a queen. That is none of those. Now,
Checks. 1 check.
Vijayaram goes ahead and checks. Heath hopes his king high is good, but it is not. And this is the hand where if Heath had raised pre-flop, he might have just won it. Instead, Vijayaram
Oh, I thought you were checking the top for your kicker.
king high that time.
making sure it was king
No
high.
good.
600k heads up, I probably should check my cards, you know?
I didn't know I had a flush. I thought I had only one diamond.
That's
Should
understandable.
have checked it.
Oh, he says he only thought he had one diamond there. That makes a little bit more sense. Still doesn't really, in my opinion, validate the pre-flop check, but it does explain the post-flop action.
Action on 2.
I didn't even put the right amount, did I?
Nathan Bartley says on Twitter, "You know I've been rooting for a Heath for hours now." He's been here watching for a long time.
That was cold.
2 calls. Action on 1.
And Vijayaram
One
decides to call now on the button, and Heath can't be sad to see that. I mean, he gets to see a free flop here with Jack 3, and he has the best of it.
Action on 1.
Not anymore, though. Vijayaram takes the lead with a pair of nines. Pair of nines going to bet here. Heath going to let it go.
1 folds.
And another pot. Vijayaram on a nice little roll here. He did lose that pot to the rivered set. But otherwise, it's been mostly Vijayaram here in this heads-up match. Ben Heath still has plenty of time. Over 30 big blinds.
Now it's 160. Yeah.
Appreciate all the love in Twitch chat, guys. This has been awesome to bring you the Aussie Millions again here on Twitch. 2 years in a row. There's a shot of the bracelet that's going to go to the champion.
Action on 2.
Once again, Ben just limping here with the ace.
2 checks.
He's really trying to employ that small ball strategy. But I gotta say, I think they're deep stacked enough where maybe Heath wants to change it up a little bit. Like, we haven't even tested our opponent, right? Like, we haven't even established, like, oh, Vijayaram calls a lot and plays certain ways post-flop. Like, I think if I was Heath, I would like to try to establish early on, okay, how does Vijayaram react to these sort of things? Try different raises out, see what happens.
2 bets.
But Heath is committed to the small ball life. It's going to work out pretty well for him this time as he makes top pair and a flush draw.
1 call.
Heath going to call here. Vijayaram's got to find some miraculous combination of cards to make the best hand here. That's not going to do it. Will Vijayaram continue his aggression here with
2 checks.
nothing?
Action on 1.
I should say he does have a pair of fives, but goes check, check. Now Vijayaram improves to a flush on the
2
river.
checks. Action on 1.
However, that 7 of spades is better than the flush that Vijayaram has. Playing the board.
1 bets.
And Heath correctly value betting here with his 7 of spades.
685,000.
Action is on Vijayaram here. He goes, well, I have a flush, but now he's facing a pretty much a pot-sized bet on the river here. He knows the best he can do is tie, right? At best, they have the same hand. Unless he's debating raising, which would be spicy, but might actually work, right? Heath only has the seven of spades. I mean, not only might work, I mean, it would work. Vijayaram trying to think about, okay, how does Heath have no spades in his hand here? How can that happen? He does figure it out. Nice lay down once again, folding the worst hand.
It's fucking the worst.
And nice hand. Not so far. I've been pretty impressed with Vijayaram's heads-up play. I mean, his play throughout the entire final table has been amazing. For just tuning in, this is Vijayaram's first cash ever. Not first big cash, not first final table. First cash, period, enter. He's going to have $1 million score.
Action on 2.
Well, I don't know, honestly. I can't really speak for Ben Heath's financial situation. You know, I mean, if you're a professional poker player, like I believe Ben is, not that experienced, most likely at heads-up play, you know, this is about as good of a spot as I think you can ask for as a professional. And if you're Vijayaram, you're in here on a $130 buy-in satellite. You're already winning $1 million. Not like you're going to be bummed out only taking home $1 million. And at this point, he's got a 3-1 chip lead. So I don't think we're going to see a deal made, but we will let you guys know if that happens.
Action on 2. 2 checks.
Obviously, we're
Action
watching
on
them
1.
right now, so there's no deal being talked about. So this was another limped pot. Heath decides to limp here. And
One bet.
Vijayaram being very
160,000.
tricky.
Action on 2.
Just checked pre-flop with an ace and now has checked his ace on this flop. And we can see he's got a hammerlock on this hand.
Two calls.
And Vijayaram does call here. Heath got to find 2 cards to make the best hand. That
Two checks.
actually might be
Action
the
on
best
1.
card he could ask for. Heath now with a double belly buster. Could find a 6 or a 10 to make the best hand. All of those are live, of course, heads up.
1 bets.
And Heath's going to fire a second bullet here.
545,000.
That's a pretty big bet, too. There was only about 700,000 in the pot, and Heath has bet a pretty hefty percentage of that. Can't imagine Vijayaram would just fold here. His hand is kind of disguised. He beats a variety of hands, pairs and straight draws, flush draws. Hands like this one, which is just a pure draw. Those turquoise chips are 100,000. The yellow chips are 5,000. The blue chips are 25,000.
100K more.
And Vijayaram goes ahead and calls it here. We're off to the river. And Heath makes a pair of jacks. Now, interesting, if the river was a complete banana, like let's say it was a 4, Heath may have bluffed. But because he made second pair, he just shows his jack, hopes that he outdrew a 9 or an 8. But he did not. And Vijayaram now with his biggest chip lead of the tournament, Heath for the first time has fallen below 30 big blinds. And Vijayaram putting the squeeze on, starting to pick up some momentum here. Can the amateur do it and take down one of the richest prize pools in all of poker? Got a tweet from DT Whitehouse who says, love being able to see the action from the Aussie Millions. Thanks to the crew at Crown Poker and Jason Somerville. Well played, guys. Thanks for hanging out, DT Whitehouse. Glad you're enjoying the stream, dude. Back to regular Run It Up action on Monday. 7 days a week of poker here on our channel on runitup.tv.
2 folds.
And that's a very lucky fold. Vijayaram folds the playable Queen 4 offsuit, and luckily for him, as Ben had Ace 10 offsuit.
On you now, yeah? He was first act. Yeah.
Action
There's
will
mind
start
blank there
on
for a
Ben
second.
this next hand. And Vijayaram having a good time. Chip lead, 17 million. Playing for 600,000. Life is pretty good. 2-0 burgers for either player here. Could definitely see Heath just folding this 10-4 offsuit. This is the kind of hand, though, I think if he's going to play, I'd like to see him raise.
One raises.
Oh, the
450,000.
first raise of the heads-up match. And you see, that's kind of why sometimes the raising strategy is helpful, because you want to raise when you have nothing. You don't really want to limp hands like this. And he's going to win the money.
Folds.
But JRM shows the 9-3 off, and Heath goes, I could beat that, as he drags that pot.
Action on 2.
The JRM first to act here. And he's going to limp, it looks like. Oh, wait.
Raises.
Nope, he's going to raise it. 325,000.
One calls.
And Heath going to quickly call with a purr. Still has about 30 big blinds. Deuces are in as good a shape as deuces can be in.
Action on 2. Original 1. Check.
That being said, tough to win without improving with deuces. Goes check, check quickly on the flop, and wow. Heath has found the case deuce.
Action on 2.
And Vijayram may think he's made the best hand now with a pair of deuces.
2 bets. 300,000.
And that 300,000 is a direct donation to Heath's stack. Heath debating between check calling and check raising. Looks like he's going for the raising option. If only Vijayram bet the flop, this hand was probably over. Instead, Vijayram going to lose at least 300,000 here.
9 raises. 985,000.
And now Heath once again makes it 1,000,000 chips. And Heath, and Vijayram rather, is a little confused here. Goes, okay, so I raised pre-flop, you called. I checked back the flop, and now you check raise? Like, wouldn't you just bet if you had a 7 or a 3? Some aces are going to re-raise pre-flop, or again, just lead on the turn. But it actually makes perfect sense. He turned a set, and then he check raised. It actually makes perfect sense about, if you think about it. Deuces or maybe like 4 or 5 would make a lot of sense as well. Let's see if the JRM can get away from this here. Whitwick's fan says, I just remembered my favorite hand of the tournament. That was when Vijayram folded queens on the river against Ben Heath's quad 10s. That was a great laydown earlier on at this final table.
Action on 1.
And 2 suited hands here.
Action on 2.
Ben Heath back to his limping strategy. He's only raised 10-4 offsuit in this heads-up match so far.
2 checks.
The JRM says, let's see 3, dealer.
Action on 2.
The JRM improves to a gut shot. Heath with
Checks.
bottom pair.
Action on 1. 1 bets. 160,000.
Wonder what Vijayram is going to do with a gut shot.
2 calls.
Looks like he's going to just call.
Action on 2.
Flush draw now for Vijayram.
2 checks. Action on 1.
What is Heath going to do here with his bottom pair?
1 checks.
Vijayram's got a lot of outs in this deck to make the best hand.
Action on 2.
And that is one of them. Will Vijayram value bet this hand? He's got to think that a 10 is probably the best hand now.
2 bets. 300,000. Action on 1.
Vijayram bets his 10 on the end correctly. And now Heath can weigh all the options. Does he want to call on the river? he does beat hands like 7-8, 7-4, missed heart draws. Hands like, 9-4 suited. Same sort of hand like Vijayaram actually has.
On calls.
He does call. And Heath back down to about 30 big blinds. Nice value bet there from Vijayaram. And he's going to get paid off here, winning a little bit over $1 million in that pot. Nice hand there from Vijayaram. There's a shot of all the money they're playing for here. Each one of those bundles is 50 grand. These two playing for 600,000 more. They're both guaranteed $1 million. And it's very possible they both look back on this day as one of the best days of their lives. Action here on Vijayaram with that Jack-6 suited.
2 raises to 325,000.
And he's going to raise it up. Heath with a very reasonable ace-9 offsuit. And we've already seen maybe 15, 20 hands of heads-up play, and it's rare to see a hand as good as ace-9 offsuit. Only a few times we've seen hands better than that.
3 raises
And Heath willing to commit some more chips with this ace-9.
to 950,000 total.
And now what will Vijayaram do with that Jack-6 suited? You got to imagine he's likely going to just fold, but
Call.
no, he says he's going to call. And we've got a 2 million chip pot. Heath only has 4 million behind. And Vijayaram's not that far behind here with that suited Jack. If he can improve here, Heath could be in some trouble.
Action on 1.
Instead, Heath makes top pair. Bit of a looser call with the Jack-6 suited. Gotta say, I did not expect that one coming. What will Heath do with his top pair, top kicker? Already 2 million chips in the pot.
On bets.
And I would guess this hand is over now. The Vijayaram only can win with the Jack immediately. Vijayaram thinking about it here, but not really sure what you could do. I mean, unless you really think that Heath just has like ace, king, ace, queen, and then would fold, or just some complete stone random bluff that would fold. Not really sure how you do anything here besides fold yourself. Jackie wants to know what's 3-bet mean? Just means re-raise. Vijayaram thinking about it here, but like I said, I just can't really fathom how we continue. I mean, we're going to bluff shove? Not really sure what other choice we have. Cannot fathom calling. Maybe he's trying to save some face here, but definitely seems like posturing, but we haven't really seen Vijayaram do this before at this final table, where he just has stone nothing and is like thinking about making a move, or like we have seen him make some heroic plays before on the flop and stuff, but he does lay this hand down, and Heath gonna pick up that nice pot. Critical pot for Ben Heath, and he's back up to almost 6 million. I got a tweet here from Michael. Says, Vijayaram is clearly smurfing. No way this can be his first cash. Playing on a second account IRL. Hashtag Aussie Millions. No, I'm pretty sure he's not multi-accounting.
You flicked it over there.
Oh, sorry.
Can't confirm.
Sorry, dude.
But yeah, Vijayaram playing like an expert here at this final table. Few hands that I think would be things he could, look back on and maybe have done different things. A couple times he played some weirder hands, but for the vast majority of this final table, he has played fantastic.
Action on 1.
Action's going to be on Ben Heath.
Action on 2.
He continues this limp strategy on the button.
2 checks.
Vijay or I'm just going to check. Another limped pot here.
Action on 2.
Vijay improves to an up and down straight draw. 7 or a queen would make him the best hand, but Heath for now is in the lead.
Check.
Goes check, check on the flop. Another player improving here on the turn. I suspect if Vijay just bet here, he would win this pot.
2 checks. 1 checks. Action on 2.
It does go check, check, though. I mean, Vijay has 8 high.
Checks. 1 check.
Looks like he's just waved the white flag here.
You check?
Yeah, he's
8 high, not going to do it. Vijay just didn't show any aggression that hand and let Ben win with an unimproved ace. Got about 35 minutes left here in this level. I do believe the levels are 90 minutes still for heads-up play. Sometimes some places make them only an hour. But anyway, 40 minutes left here at this level, then the blinds will go up to 100 and 200,000. Both players think that they're having a good time. Oh, and the first time we've seen this, a collision of 2 pretty reasonable hands. Well, I guess we saw the ace-queen versus ace-10 earlier, but
2 raises to 325,000.
Vijay going to start here with the raise with ace-king. Quick call by Ben in the big blind. Off to the flop we go here.
Action on 1.
And this is definitely a flop that Ben could get himself in some trouble in, having the inferior ace. Quick check, check on the flop. Vijay turns a gut shot. Already action over to Vijay with that ace-king. Is he content to just check this one down, or is it time to bet, get some value out of... Sounds like he's already bet here. Trying to get paid by worse aces, king, queen, queen, 9, heart draws, club draws. And he is going to get paid here by Heath. Heath got to find a jack or a 7 to tie, a 6 to take the lead.
1 checks. Action on 2.
And I think this is going to go check, check here. Ace-king high going to win this pot. The JRM thinking about it, but not too many worse hands are going to call. Don't think too many better hands are going to fold. The JRM does check. And he's going to drag this pot. Basically right back where we started, 16 million to 5.4 million. You can see all those turquoise chips. Those are the 100,000 highest denomination chips in play.
1 calls. Action on 2. Two checks.
Just a limp and a check here. Once again, Ben with a pair, deciding to just limp pre-flop. Vijay improving to a pair of 4s here.
2 bets, 160,000. Action on 1. One raises to 460,000.
Ooh, Heath with a little value raise here on this flop. And it looks like Vijay not believing this small raise. He has about a 4-1 underdog here. What is he going to do with his bottom pair queen kicker?
2 calls.
Looks like he's going to throw the money in. We're going to see a turn card here.
Action on 2.
8 doesn't really change anything. Heath picks up a gut shot straight draw.
Action on 1.
He's going to check, and Heath quickly reaching for chips here. He must really feel like he has the best hand.
475.
He does beat all the 4s, all the 5s, all the spade draws. Quick half Milski here from Ben. I mean, gotta feel like your queen 4 is either I mean, you could be ahead of spade draws and like 5-3 suited, maybe like ace 3 suited, something like that. You know, it is possible. And this might be the biggest misstep of this heads-up match for Vijayaram. These two playing a 2 million chip pot. 89% that Ben will have the best hand on the river. And that jack doesn't change anything. My suspicion is it's going to go check here on the river. And indeed it is. Ben going to pick up this pot. Nicely played by Ben Heath. And this is the biggest stack he has had heads up, if I'm not mistaken. Ben up and over 40 big blinds right now. I got a little question for you guys in Twitch chat. A question that I'm sure you'll all have the answer to. What is the best Twitch emote? I answered this yesterday, but I said it's Vohayo because, you know, how could it not be? My second favorite is absolutely Seems Good. The old Daniel Negreanu avatar. I mean, come on. And my third favorite one, I don't know. Could be Mr. Destructoid, could be T-Tours. Actually, no, what am I saying? It must be not like this. It must be. That's just, how could I forget?
Calls. 1 calls.
We got a raise by Ace-Jack suited, and that's a pretty good flop for the Ace-Jack of spades. Actually, not a bad spot to consider checking back here, because you so often have the board smashed and your opponent in terrible shape. But it looks like the Vijayaram.
2 bets 400,000. 1 folds.
Quick bet, quick fold. And Vijayaram going to heal up a little bit, pick up that 375,000 in profit. Got so many great tweets. Appreciate you guys hanging out for this Aussie Millions main event. 1.6 million for first. We started 12 hours ago with 7 players.
Action on 1. One calls. Action on 2.
Ben continues the limp strategy here, this time with 4-3 offsuit.
2 jacks.
Limping a check here, and we're off to the flop.
Action on 2. 2 jacks. Action on 1. 1 bets. 160,000.
And Ben does bet here with the best hand. In a limp pot that's already pretty small, you think Vijayaram probably going to just fold here. No real reason to continue. If you're just tuning in, Ben Heath from the UK, over $1 million lifetime in cashes. He's going to add $1 million to that. Vijayaram, this is his first live cash ever. So he'll be winning over $1 million, qualified in a satellite. That's a smaller tournament that paid an entry fee into this tournament. So he won his $10,000 buy-in here at Crown. And now he's guaranteed $1 million for getting second. Could win $1.6 million.
Action on 2.
Vijayaram first to act here. Let's see if he raises the Queen 8 offsuit. I don't think he should get lulled into the calling game. He's going to call here, though. You know, just because your opponent is calling every hand, like, I think this is what Heath wants. Let's play small pots, see a lot of flops. Like, I think this is where Heath's skill edge is going to shine.
Action on 1. 1 checks.
Pretty good flop here for Heath. Up and down straight draw, 3 flush. And Vijayaram's going to bet here. Heath surely continuing. The question is it going to continue for a raise or just a call? Looks like Heath going to raise it up. And that's got to be the end of this hand. Looks like $1 million almost.
1,085,000.
Vijayaram not instantly folding here, but this would be a spicy spot to float, as in to just call with a, I'm going to call it mediocre, but that's being nice, hand. But he hasn't let it go, and he has pulled out the call. He has to call 785,000 more. That is what he's going to do. Wow. And we're playing a 2.5 million chip pot. Neither player with a pair. Now we can see that Vijayaram here has the best hand with queen high. Heath has 2 times the pot left.
1 checks. Action on 2.
And wow, Heath's going to slow down here. Vijayaram has a chance to win this pot with a bet right now. Good instincts from Vijayaram that he thought Heath was just messing around. Did he show his hand? No, he didn't, right? He mucked it. He says you call if I jam the flop. I didn't hear the answer. But hey, nice little move there from Vijayaram, winning a pot bet. I would not have won, that is for sure. Nice moves there. Good instincts by him.
At 5 high.
Oh, you're up and down.
He figured out his hand. I wonder if Ben said yes or no to calling all in on the flop if he had jammed.
Action on 1.
Would have been a tough decision, but he probably would have folded. Still has 30 big blinds left. You know, it's not like he had 10.
2 checks.
Heath folding back down to 30 big blinds. Limp here from Heath. Vijayaram with the almighty 3 deuce offsuit. We're going to see a flop.
Action on 2.
And that 3 deuce has made the best hand here. 2-1 favorite against the 10-7.
1 bet's 160,000.
Don't think Vijayaram's going anywhere here. And he quickly flicks in the call.
2 checks.
Not a bad turn card for Heath here. Now he can make the best hand with a 10 or a 7, a club, or an 8. And Heath is going to fire a second bullet here in this limped pot. And we have seen Heath limp some good hands, so it's not like we can just say, oh, he limped, he must have a bad hand.
585,000.
We've also seen Vijayaram not afraid to call with some marginal holdings. Will he continue with this one? Vijay, I'm trying to figure this out here. Tough spot to call because you have to be afraid of. You might also face a river bet. Trying to figure out some math here. And Vijay instincts have been pretty on point this entire tournament. Will he figure this spot out as well?
Two faults.
This time he lets it go. Nice semi-bluff there by Ben. Took 2 bullets to get it done, but he did in fact get it done. Nice hand there by Ben Heath. Next hand underway. Shrain Vijayaram, first to act. Hard to win pots with 3 deuce offsuit. I mean, can't really blame him for folding. If his opponent actually has it, he's in awful shape. If he's ahead, he's not ahead by much. Vijayaram here with a pair. I believe this is his first pocket pair of the match. He's going to come in for a raise.
350,000.
And Heath with a very reasonable king-8. He's going to defend. 500,000 chips in the pot heading to the flop. A little more than that even.
Action on one check.
An interesting flop here. Vijayaram with the best hand, but Heath with the up and down straight draw.
2 bets, 400,000.
Vijayaram bets here. Heath, of course, going to continue.
Action on one checks. Action on 2.
Vijayaram now could make a straight with an 8 or a 4. Heath needs to catch a 5 or a 10 to make a straight. King would also make him the best hand. We know a 5 is going to be hard to come by, but that would certainly be a bit of an action card, though it would put
2 bets,
lots of
500,000.
straights on board. Oh, Vijayaram fires with his 5s twice here. Must feel like he has the best hand, and he is very right about that. 80% here on the turn. And now Ben Heath doing some quick accounting. He's got about 4 million left behind. It actually would be a pretty cool spot to shove here on the turn. It would be so tough to call with 5s. And this is the first time in this heads-up match we've seen Ben really look at his opponent. Ben getting about 4-1 to call, 500,000 to win 2 million. Exactly 4-1. Ooh, and that is a check raise. And now I think Vijayaram's hand may be just barely good enough for him to call here on the turn. Turn was a 3. At least I'm pretty sure it was a 3.
1,390,000.
So it's a raise to 1.39 million. Heath check raising here on the turn. If Vijayaram didn't have the straight draws, like
1,385,90,000.
let's say Vijayaram had ace 6 instead of 2 5s. This play is probably more likely to work. But because Vijayaram does have those straight draws, although an 8 isn't really fantastic, you know, you river an 8 and any 10 has a higher straight. But yeah, I think having that straight draw allows him to call here, and Ben's going to need some help.
Action on 1.
That is not going to do it, but that's a scary river card. Ben hasn't moved all in. If that is what he's going to do, we don't know that. That's the graphics getting a little excited. I mean, this is a scary river. Queen on the end. This would be tough to call if Ben can blast here on the river. I mean, it looks like he's considering it. He's got under a pot-sized bet left.
All in. 1 is all in.
Ben is all in. Vijayaram is one word away from winning the Aussie Millions. All he has to do is call with an underpair, basically, to win the match. Easy. I'm sure everybody in Twitch chat right now is like, oh yeah, call, easy, you win, buddy. But this is an incredibly tough call to make with an underpair. Let's see if Vijayaram can figure this out. I mean, we beat Ace 8, King 8, Jack 8, 8 4, heart draws, I suppose.
Is it all in?
He's asking for a count, which is very reasonable. Man, this would be an epic, unreal call. If somehow Vijayaram can make this, I mean, this would just be next level, unreal. You don't want to double up a dangerous opponent. If Vijayaram was wrong, Heath would have 10 million chips. We got ourselves an even game. But we know that if he calls here, it's all over, baby. Can Vijayaram somehow figure this out? Raise preflop, call. Check, bet, call. Turn, check, bet, raise, call. River all in. Vijayaram's got to call 3.2 million to win 7.5 million. Man, I wish he had just had 2 8s here instead of 2 5s. The thing is, though, it doesn't really make a difference, right? Because Heath doesn't have Ace 7. He doesn't have King 6, right? He either has 2 pair, a straight, a set, or nothing. Wow, this would be an unreal, unbelievable call if he can make it. One of the toughest spots I've ever seen, really. Heads up for 600,000, and no matter what happens, you got to give Heath credit for putting his life on the line here with King High. Correctly realizes his opponent isn't that strong. And imagine how Ben Heath is feeling right now. He's all in, his opponent is thinking about it. Heath knows if he's called, it's all over. Vijayaram hasn't released his hand yet. He's chopping out the call. That's 2.5 million. That's 3.2 million. That's the call. He's got it right there. If he pushes those chips forward, it's over. Can he somehow make this call? If he finds a call here, this would be the sickest call I think I've ever seen. $600,000. The difference between first and second place. There has been no deal. Vijayaram trying to figure this out here, but this would just be absurd. Can Vijayaram find the call here? Our satellite qualifier in for $135, playing for 600 grand. In front of one of the largest live stream audiences for poker in Twitch history. He's figured it out. He can only really beat a busted draw. Hearts are straight. And no matter whether he calls or not, Vijayaram's instincts this hand has been amazing. Props to Ben Heath's poker face. He is showing nothing. Can Vijayaram find the call here on the river for all the money? This is intense. He's replaying the hand again. He raised, got called. Check called flop. Check raise turn from Heath, and then Heath shoved the river. He calls! It's all over! Holy moly, he wins the tournament! That's it! It's over! Wow, wow, wow! All that money going to Vijayaram. That is the run it up dream right there. $135 into $1.6 million. That is unbelievable. Where else do you see stories like that come true? This is real life right now. Shireen Vijayram just won $1.6 million with one of the sickest hero calls that I have ever seen in my life. Unbelievable. He figured it out. That is insane. Unbelievable. We have an extremely worthy champion. Wow. I have never been prouder to see Run It Up on a player in my life. Wow. Unbelievable.
Oh, cheers, man. That's fucking unreal.
Joel Williams,
Cheers. Thank you. Thank you.
Tosh, some of the Crown staff congratulating our champion.
We'll take this off.
Wow. What? That hand is incredible.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, did we take this off or we leave this on?
Look at that pile of cash. Let's hear from... Oh, payouts first. Wow, look at our payouts here. We started with 7 players. We started with 725 players. And wow, what a way to wrap up the Aussie Millions here on Twitch. I have been doing the not like this for at least 2 minutes since the call happened. What in the world? 1.6 million for the champion. Props to Ben Heath. Absolutely amazing player. Incredible bluff. Somehow got called. Wow. That is unbelievable. Not again of the money. Wow. Whoa. If you guys had a good time, use that hashtag Aussie Millions. Let us know on social media that you enjoyed these live stream. Press that follow button. I can't promise to do better than what we just saw tonight, but we're going to be streaming for 2 more months, almost every single day here on RunItUp.tv. That is one of the most incredible hands I have ever seen in my 12-year career in poker.